Are you someone who's been trying to build a new habit, did it for some time, and then realized that you went back to the old patterns? Then this video is for you. In this video, we will understand the science and the psychology of habits and how we can build and maintain good, healthy habits to unlock our highest potential and achieve success. What is a habit? Habits are automatic behavior patterns. It is what comes very naturally to you, and you just do it very unconsciously in an automatic mode. Habit, by definition, is a usual sense of being, and they are your responses to certain situations in a certain way. In fact, they are like your second nature. But understand that small actions, whether positive or negative, done over a period of time, have a compounding effect leading to significant results, and hence they can lead us to either success or failure. So, we all have both types of habits: good habits, which are helping us accomplish more goals in our lives, like having a healthy routine of exercise, eating healthy, reading, and certain habits which are not helpful, which are not very healthy, like being anxious and spending a lot of time on social media. However, even though you know that some of those habits are not helping you, you keep going back to them over and over again. So, if you want to work on building certain habits or getting rid of some unhealthy habits, you must understand the science behind habits, how habits are formed. So, our body has a biological system called homeostasis, wherein our body keeps an internal physical and chemical conditions at a balanced level. Whenever there's an imbalance that occurs, our body adapts to it. And that is the reason we feel cold when it is winters outside and we feel hot when it is summers outside. Habits are a mechanism that the body utilizes to cope with the situation which has created some kind of imbalance in the body, and it's through these habits it provides an immediate solution so that we feel relaxed and comfortable. Now, every habit has a habit loop, which has three components: a cue or a trigger, a response or our behavior or the way we react to that trigger, and the third thing is a reward that we get, the feel good factor that we get within the kind of comfort level that we get after doing it. Now, the formation of habit begins with a cue or a trigger, which acts as a signal for the brain to initiate a particular behavior. The cues can be external cues like people, situation, or internal cues like certain emotions or thoughts. The prefrontal cortex, which is the area of the brain which is responsible for decision making, plays a very important role in recognizing and processing these cues. Now, the prefrontal cortex decides how this cue has to be interpreted and how we should respond to this cue or trigger. Now, initially, this behavior requires a lot of conscious efforts and cognitive resources. It is, in fact, during this time when we have to put in a lot of conscious effort, or in other words, a lot of willpower to do something that most people actually quit and just give up. And the reason why that happens is because our minds are naturally hardwired to optimize itself, to conserve its energy, and hence it wants to do any task with the minimum amount of energy and effort. And that is what leads to that friction, and we keep getting these thoughts of अरे इसको छोड़ देते हैं, ये वर्कआउट करने से आज क्या होगा, अभी तो लाइफ एंजॉय करते हैं. But over the time, as habits become more automatic, they require less cognitive effort and cognitive resources. And how does this happen? So, when we get the reward of that behavior that we have done, there is a neurotransmitter that gets released, which is called dopamine. And that gives us a sense of pleasure and desire and satisfaction and that comfort level. Now, this dopamine release strengthens the connection between the cue and the behavior, thereby strengthening the habit loop itself. And with repetition or doing this on a routine basis more and more, this process gets automatic and this behavior becomes very, very effortless, and minimal resources are required to make this particular task happen. And it is at this stage when the brain is very happy that it doesn't have to put in a lot of effort and energy to do this particular activity. But it is important for us to understand that to reach this stage, we have to do repetition, multiple rounds of the same thing over and over again. For example, when remember the day when you decided to learn car driving. You joined the car driving school and you had some expert driver sitting with you teaching you. And on that day one, when you were driving the car, you were so alert. You could hear all the honking. You were so observant of looking at all the vehicles that are on the road passing by. Now today, driving has become so effortless to you that there are days when you would have just been having a chit chat with somebody sitting in the car and not even thought about where I have to go or am I changing the gear right, and and you just happen to reach that place. Driving has now become a habit for you. So understand that repetition is the key, and hence changing a habit is a conscious decision. You have to be patient and be absolutely consistent at it. Before we move on any further to understand what are the ways to build or master building good habits, share with me in the comment section below. So, what is that one habit that you want to work upon today? Write it down in the comment section below. I would be happy to hear from you. So, once you've decided what is that habit that you want to work upon, whether it is a good habit that you want to build or a bad habit which you want to get rid of, the next thing is identify the why. Why do you want to get rid of that habit, or why do you want to build that good habit? What exactly will happen once you build that habit or get rid of that habit? And to do that, keep asking that why again and again. Keep peeling more and more layers of within yourself to get that compelling reason which you cannot negate. For example, when I wanted to build my habit of eating healthy and clean and a high protein diet, I asked myself, why do I want to do this? The answer was, I want to have a good health. Then why do I want to have a good health? Because I want to live longer. Why do I want to live longer? So that I can help more and more people like you, professionals like you, transform your life and also spend good time, happy time with my loved ones. Enjoy that time. So if I work on eating clean today, it gives me the necessary strength and the stamina to be able to help more people, to be able to spend more time with my loved ones, which is the purpose of my life. So find out your deeper why. And it will not only help you build this good habit or get rid of this bad habit, but it will also help you maintain that behavior consistently over a period of time. Next thing is identify the what. Now, what is it that triggers this kind of a behavior? Like I said earlier, every habit has a habit loop with a trigger, response, or a behavior and a reward. So, for example, when you feel stressed, you feel like eating sweets and chocolates and ice cream. Then what is the trigger? The trigger is that stress. So good habits also, there are triggers. Another example could be, for a trigger, could be brushing your teeth after waking up. Now the trigger here is waking up. And it all started with your parents saying that to you every time you woke up, that brush your teeth after waking up. So that's an external trigger, that they were an external trigger to that habit, so much so that today that good habit has become such an automatic thing for you, isn't it? So identify what is the trigger, internal or external in your case. Now once you've identified the why, the what, now let's go on to the how. So how to get rid of that unhealthy habit and how to build and maintain good habits. Number one, eliminate triggers of negative habits and make positive habits very obvious in your environment. If you have a habit of, say, checking social media very frequently, then the trigger could be those notifications. So you could switch off the notification when you're doing focused work, or maybe delete some apps from your mobile phones and access those apps only from the laptop. Or if you keep frequently going to the fridge to eat that chocolate, then make sure that you remove all the chocolates from the fridge, because the more you see them, the more you will get tempted to eat them. Triggers could also be internal stress. Then, what are the behaviors, feelings, and thoughts that are leading you to experience that negative emotion internally? Find out the uncovering reason behind it and work on that, maybe using certain mindfulness techniques or some other techniques. Remember that you are feeling stressed about any situation or thing because of the way you are interpreting that situation. So, utilize certain techniques which will help you expand your mental maps or your perspective, and hence you will not see the situation that trigger as a negative situation and hence not experience any negative emotions. Also, make positive habits obvious. Now, make those positive habits accessible, more apparent, and more evident for your mind. For example, if you want to build a reading habit, make sure that the book you want to read is kept by either by your bedside or on your desk somewhere where you can really see that, because anything that surrounds us becomes more obvious for us. And that is the reason, checking the phone every day in the morning becomes a very obvious thing for us because the phone is just right next to us. For example, in my case, when I wanted to increase my water intake, I made a choice that every time I'll sit down and do my work, I will have at least 2 bottles of water filled and kept by my side so that I keep sipping water all the time. Second is make negative habits difficult and positive habits easy and simple. Now, by default, as I said earlier, our brains are wired so that it has to spend least amount of energy and effort to do anything. So, if we can get ourselves to do something with less or minimum amount of energy and effort, then the brain will just love it and it will help us do it more and more. So, why not make the negative habits difficult and the positive habits easy and simple? Now, for example, when I wanted to minimize my screen time during my working hours, I made this as a choice that I kept my phone in a separate room or in my bag. And even though there were times when I could hear the phone ringing, my mind would just say, who is going to walk up till the phone and take it, leave it, we'll see it later. And similarly, for building a positive habit or making it easy. So, sometime back when I started incorporating eating a lot of salads in my diet, I wanted to do that. I ensured that I trained and delegated that task of cutting some 6-7 ingredients of the salad to my help so that it is an easy thing for me. And days when I had to cut, I would make sure that I do that cutting and chopping a little before the time when I have to actually eat it. Because the time when I'm hungry, if at that time I'm going ahead and chopping some 7 ingredients, most of the time I'll end up dropping it. In your case, for example, if you want to start going to a gym, so choosing to go to a gym which is in your society versus going outside, driving down for 14-15 minutes to reach the gym. Or you could also buy some dumbbells and join some online class so that it is made easy and simple and more readily doable for your mind. The easier it is, it will fall in the category of discipline more easily. So break down that positive habit into very small steps and see how you can make that very easy and simple to do. Third thing is swap a negative habit with a good habit. Now, when someone has an unhealthy habit and the trigger comes in, the body responds in a certain way to cope with that situation so that it feels good after the release of dopamine. It feels relieved after the release of dopamine. So find out what are those alternative choices that you can have or you can make so that you get that relieving or nice feeling. One way to do it is make a list of things that you love doing. And whenever that trigger comes in, try to just do one of those things. So, in my case, for example, I realized that when I had to do some very complex or deep focus work, suddenly I would get up from my desk, walk into the kitchen while still thinking, and just eat something random in between the meals when I know I shouldn't be eating in between the meals or shouldn't be munching. So, what I did is I observed this pattern, and the time when I had this sensation of getting up and going some walking, instead of walking towards the kitchen, I walked towards the balcony, took some fresh air, took a breather for a while, and then went back to work. And you will not believe that it just worked like a charm for me. I just could get back to work very easily. So in your case, just see what it could be. It could be going for a short walk, or meditating, listening to music, or dancing, playing an instrument. Just try doing that. Fourth is focus on small, consistent, and specific steps to build good habits and break bad habits. Break down your good habits into extremely small, simple actions that require minimal motivation or willpower to perform. It is not the magnitude of the single action that matters, but the consistency, like I said, repetition of those actions over a long period of time that is important. So ensure that you're consistent every single day doing this. So focus on consistency of performing that habit rather than the intensity. And make it very, very clear and specific when you will do it and where you will do it. The specifics of the execution will give your mind a very concrete information that okay, this is the time I have to do it, and hence it reduces any kind of decision making fatigue. By constantly taking these small and specific steps, you will definitely build a momentum to create a positive habit loop, and eventually you will see you will start doing that particular habit for a longer time. So, for example, when I wanted to build my reading habit, I tried that a lot of times in the past, and I would set a target. I will read for 1 hour every single day. Trust me, I just did it for 2 days, 3 days, 4 day, and fifth day onwards, nothing is happening. The minute I changed that to I will read for only 15 minutes a day, it just worked like a charm. And my mind said, oh, just 15 minutes? Oh, let's just sit, chalo, pad lete hain. In your case, if you want to, start waking up early, you usually wake up at say 7 a.m. You want to start waking up at 5 a.m. So do not say, okay, from tomorrow I'm going to start waking up at 5 a.m. That might not work because the mind is not comfortable doing it. Change that. And tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 6:45. Do that for 1 or 2 weeks. Then I'm going to start waking up at 6:30. Do that for a few weeks and gradually build it up. If you want to incorporate certain salads in your diet, don't do it like an immediate thing. Kal say I'm going to eat only salads and soups. No. Whatever you are eating, add a bowl of salad in one meal. Start with that one baby step. Fifth, reward for the good habits. Now understand that we do something consistently is because we like doing it. When the mind feels good about it, and how does the mind feel good about it is by the release of dopamine. So, for good habits, it's very, very important that we start rewarding ourselves. Now, typically, for good habits, the reward comes a little later in future. So, in order to be consistent today, what we have to do is bring that reward from future to the present, some part of the reward. And there are different ways where you can give that reward to yourself. For example, if you're tracking your progress, through a tracker. The minute you tick that today I've done my workout, it's a reward. Because it releases dopamine in your body, gives you a sense of satisfaction. Or if you share it with some friends and family members, and they appreciate you, it releases dopamine in your body, and that's a reward. Or you could treat yourself that after I read these 20 pages, I'm going to take a nap. So, see how you can reward and an immediate, instant reward after you have done that small task that you had decided to do. So, in a nutshell, the 5 tips to build, maintain good, healthy habits or getting rid of bad habits are: number one, eliminate triggers of negative habits and make positive habits obvious in your environment. Number two, make negative habits difficult and positive habits easy and simple. Number three, swap a negative habit with a good habit. Number four is focus on small, consistent, and specific to build good habits and break bad habits, both. Number five is reward for good habits. Building good habits, you see, takes time and effort. But with the right strategies and mindset, you can transform your life. So start small and consistent and be patient, and you will soon realize how these tiny actions have become your second nature and have a compounding effect on your transformation journey to make you a high performer and achieve exponential success. If you found this information useful, do like, subscribe, and comment on the video, and also share with more and more people so that they get benefited from it. Also, I would love to hear from you all in the comment section below as to which habit do you want to work upon today. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is Devna Mathur, your high performance coach.